What are your predictions?
The question is, when does it go crazy again? Does it go crazy in spring, or does it take summer?
Let's dive in then. So I know obviously with you guys coaching so many people, what are you kind of seeing right now? Like, what are you seeing from both in your eyes of what's happening in the market, but also what you're getting back from those clients you're coaching?
Okay. So, well, there's definitely been a slowdown in sales volume, right? So what I'll say, number one, is when you hear people and people ask you about the real estate market, it drives me nuts because I'm kind of irritable that way. To me, it depends what you're talking about. There's two different types of real estate markets out there. Okay. There's real estate sales is one market. And then there's real estate prices is another. Generally speaking, real estate sales, the only person that cares about that are agents. Okay. The public doesn't care. Your friends that aren't agents don't care about how sales are doing. They just don't care. What they care about is housing prices, the other market. They care about our prices going up or down. Down, that means I should buy, or up means I should, that means I'm either great if I sell or I'm worth a lot more money. That's what they care about. But there's lots of confusion over those two right now, and they don't necessarily move at the same time. That's the interesting thing. One can go one way and the other can go the other, and they get convoluted. And the media nowadays definitely helps convolute that. Clickbait is probably the biggest enemy of intelligence, I guess, probably in the world, but certainly our industry. They'll be saying real estate market's crashing or real estate market declines by 50%. And they may mean sales dropped, but they don't mean prices are dropping like that. They'll use things like month-over-month stats as opposed to year-over-year stats that confuse a lot of people. So that creates a new obligation on us as agents to educate and make sure, to really be that counselor. So we ourselves have to be knowledgeable about those differences, because that's what our clients depend on us for. Right? Our clients depend on us to know those two differences. Let me show you this chart. This is the amount of homes sold in the United States, according to the National Association of Realtors down at the bottom. And you can see as you move from left to right, home sales in the 90s, and, we're going back a good, 32 years here, 33 years now, I guess. And as we move through and we get into 2000, you can see this was the housing boom of 2005 when 6.2 million homes sold. We actually got above that. Then things went down, sales went down, and prices went down at the same time. That's what confused a lot of people, because that's not been the case lately. Then housing prices jumped up, and we started really, moving nice. The steadiest real estate market in history has probably been since 2010 to 2000 through 2022. Prices moved up, and then we got a whole bunch of sales volume all the way up to 6.4 million homes sold in 2021. And then 2022 happened. And literally we jumped down to 4.4 million in home sales. So you're talking almost 2/3 less home sales for a real estate agent last year. We get paid based on those home sales. So that means, in theory, 2/3 less commission was earned by real estate agents last year. And that has to do with almost entirely due to rapidly increasing interest rates like we haven't seen since 1980 and 1981. To see, and that's going way back, we're going back 40, 50 years now, where you saw the Fed chairman just saying, hey, I'm just going to keep upping them, over and over and over again. Pretty nuts. However, that's not what happened to home prices. We saw some month-over-month declines because there were no sales, and basically the only people that were buying and selling were people down around, people that had to. So a lot of people that don't need to sell, especially so many people having moved, didn't, especially the luxury. The luxury market, the higher priced homes, they don't need to sell, certainly not during the winter. So they didn't. So that means the average price appeared to decline because luxury stopped selling. The average price of sales was lower. Does that mean prices are dropping? Not necessarily. I think most people across the country, and again, we coach many of the highest producing agents and teams across North America, so we've got coaches and clients everywhere. There's not inventory. And when there's not inventory, you can pretty much count on prices to go up.
Yep.
Okay. When supply is down, prices go up. That's why they call it supply side economics. Buyer demand matters, but not as much as a lack of supply. So yeah, interest rates going up hurts a little demand. But point of the matter is, now that we're into 2023, the idea of a 6% interest rate, everybody's okay with that. What seems foreign is a 3% interest rate. That seems like decades ago. So people's expectations have adjusted. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so what is that in a nutshell? Like if someone's trying to message that, how do you put that into a nice message? If you're speaking to database, online leads, Facebook, whatever it is, how do you get that message out? What does it need to look like?
I think it's really not so much the message is the contacting. That's number one. So you've got to be out there. You've got to be contacting your database, number one. The market is conditioning them. You don't need to tell them, hey, here's what the rates are. Everybody knows. You know what I mean? Everybody knows. What they don't know right now is that supply is low and it's a great time to sell or buy. What you should be doing is showing more than telling them, to answer your question. So let me show you what I might show them. This one's going to kind of light you up a little bit. Check this out, and I'll give this to you. So take a look at this chart here. We're going all on the left-hand side. This green line that kind of rotates from left to right shows you what's happened with the average home prices in America going all the way back to 1960 now. Okay, so we're going back, quite a ways. And you can see home prices have always gone up over time. This is based on NAR, again's average home price, National Association of Realtors. As we move up, it's just a nice steady increase. I mean, the line hasn't sped up or decreased. It just keeps moving up. Now, we did have a big price recession because we had an overabundance of supply. It wasn't because of a lack of demand. We had too many homes being built, too much supply on the market. Those, and there's a lot of things that contributed to that, but that's what ended up creating the price drop. And then all of a sudden we reset and we started moving up again. Okay. The people that have seen a price drop in the second half of 2022 understand in 2022, home prices did increase 5.6% last year. That's a big one. Prices actually went up last year. Yeah, they decreased at the end of it. But you can see there are all kinds of bumps. There's COVID in here. There's all these different little bumps up and down, things like Greece's economy collapsing or, different things, junk bond markets or, Oklahoma City bombings and things like that throughout history that causes prices to jump up and down for short periods of time. Only twice has it lasted for more than a few years, and that would be the Great Depression and the Great Recession around 2008. But other than that, there's all kinds of these little tiny like interest rate changes, things like that we've seen over the, here's the last time in the, the early 80s, interest rates kind of slowed things. That's their job. They're trying to slow the economy down and slow down home prices. And we're seeing that right now. Interest rates all of a sudden created this little leveling off of the average home price. So that's why home prices, there isn't anyone out there saying that home prices aren't going to keep going at a nice tick up. So the idea of someone waiting to buy and timing the market is crazy. It's absolutely nuts, especially with your personal residence. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to wait for home prices to go down, then sell your house and buy a new one? Or are you going to wait for home prices to go up and then sell your house for more, but pay more for a new one? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense here. You can always refinance the rate if you think those are going down. So the idea of timing the market is absolutely ludicrous. It's an excuse that people use to tell themselves they don't need to clean up their house for sale right now.
I do feel like there's been a lot less. I would say last year you were getting those investors that were saying, oh, I'm just going to wait till it collapses next year and yada, yada. I feel like that's happening less now. I'm hearing less of that because I think they're starting to realize what you said.
That's right. The market is conditioning them. So that's the one thing we always think about, what do we got to do differently in this new market? This is not a new market. This is just like that entire chart I showed you. There's little ups and downs all the way through. This is clearly not one of the Great Recession things. I mean, we don't have any houses to sell. How do prices crash when there's not enough to sell? So what's happening is people are starting to get, the gist of that. We're talking, in winter still, wait till spring and summer hits, and people want to start buying and moving and things hit the market. You're going to keep seeing, especially as you get closer to median home prices across the country, anywhere you're looking around the median home price, you're going to still start to see a lot of over asking, multiple offer scenarios coming on board because there's just not enough houses. When there's not enough houses, price will go up. When prices go up, that gets reported. Consumer confidence is very, very high, because that gets talked about. They hear it, so they will condition you. The key is for the agent to just put their blinders on like a racehorse who can't see the other horses next to them. Don't worry about the clickbait and keep staying in contact with your people. So, because the market will teach them. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, so with regards to, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, obviously, and let's say nothing crazy happens in this world, which could happen. With the sales that we had last year, I think we said 4.6 million sales. If you were to guess this year and kind of estimate, where do you think we're going to fall? Do you think we're going to be close to that, lower than that, higher than that? What are your predictions?
That's a great question. I don't think we'll be higher than that, only because of the slow start. The question is, when does it go crazy again? Does it go crazy in spring, or does it take summer? Because you're going to see some year over year price drop data that comes out, because prices were so high at the start of 2022. Now in 2023, some people are still spooked. So we may not see the expensive houses go on the market as much, which keeps median home prices lower. And that makes people think prices are dropping. Now, I think the consumer confidence comes back, and I think we're going to be on so long as the Federal Reserve doesn't start trying to, control it too much. That's the hard part. When the Federal Reserve comes back into play, like they were in the 80s and 90s, so frequently, they were the nemesis of the real estate agent. My dad used to walk around the house cursing the name Greenspan and Bernanke and all these guys, because they, that was the enemy. It wasn't Republicans versus Democrats. If you're a business person, it was the Fed chair trying to slow things down all the time to prevent inflation. That hasn't been at play for a lot of different reasons for the last 20 years, right? We've been trying to stimulate the economy for 20 years. So the Fed chairs just kind of had a muzzle. So that changes things. But I'm guessing, we're definitely going to be up. There's no doubt. I do think we're going to see a big uptick. And I expect it to keep going up now, because people are going to start to realize housing, the big fear is our housing price is going to drop. Investors are back to buying. All the institutional investors are back to buying. They all get it. The world's not ending. The Fed Reserve is cutting back on their rate increases now, and they've all but said they don't have much more in them. There's even been talk of cutting rates, at the end of the year. So when that starts to happen, I think we could be up there I think we'll get up over 5 million homes sold this year, maybe 5.5. Somewhere in that range. So let's put a prediction, my first prediction of the year. I'll put it out there at 5.25. I'll put it right between the two. That's assuming that, things start thawing off in late spring. But if, I will tell you, it's been hotter in most places in the country in January, especially the last 2 weeks of January, almost everywhere in the United States, way hotter than I anticipated.
A couple of agents, actually, when we were doing one-on-ones, out of the blue, were like, I feel like all these buyers are coming out of the woodworks. I had 4 people reach out to me today or whatever. And that wasn't happening in the past 60 days.
We're getting tons of that. Tons of that. Like, hey, I'm ready to list. When should I list? Lots of that, So you're getting the buyers coming out, the sellers coming out. This could be faster. If it happens faster than spring, kind of like last year did, like and the year before, like we were getting during that COVID time, when things were going really crazy, where January felt like May, this could get higher. That was the difference is, people are just buying and selling panicked, It could happen too. It's starting to, that's for darn sure.